Just as the video started, my phone vibrated, and I think it's below this, so just a moment. Oh, maybe not. Yes, there it is. Red alert, Mozazarit. There's like this part of Israel called Mozazarit, or maybe they're like industrial complexes or something. Like, I'm not really sure, but they keep getting like so much of the brunt of the attacks from Gaza. It's really like weird. But I don't know. Maybe it's they're just like, these things are really close to Gaza, and most of them, it's easiest for them to land there. Also, just got news from J-Post that Netanyahu is giving no indication when Gaza operation will end. So it's gonna last as long as they're throwing missiles at us. Like, if we know that they have weapons, we're going to destroy as many of them as we can. That's just like how it has to go. So anyhow, on a lighter note, I'm getting really sick of talking about the conflict in that light, but I wanted to talk about something that is really cool and awesome and like special about Judaism. There's this idea that there's no such thing as coincidence, that everything happens for a reason. And I, in a less religious way, always, and less observant, our rabbi prefers that we use the idea of observance as opposed to religiousness, because religion implies like being forced to do something or blah blah blah. We don't like to talk about punishment, because punishment is usually like the lack of an act, or the act itself that is negative, just having its own repercussions. And that concept is really important to carry home, because if you think like, oh, I'm going to do this, it's a sin, and then God is going to have his wrath on me, it's like, no, like, you are that problem. You create it for yourself, and whatever comes of it, whatever that result is, that's what the punishment is. Like, God's not like sending extraneous, like, punishments down to earth for all of our weirdnesses and, shortcomings or whatever. It's really more straightforward than that. So anyhow, sort of on that topic, I want to talk about, I keep forgetting how to say it. I need to really practice my Hebrew. Hashgacha Pratit. Actually, my friend Brittany was trying to remember that, and now I realize what she was trying to say. Hashgacha Pratit. So anyways, that whole idea about divine providence is that things happen more or less as they're meant to, and I sort of agree with this, because when you think about it, if something happens, and this is what I'm saying about it being, I have like this less religious sort of idea about it, that if something happens, if something was meant to happen, the way of knowing is because it happened. And it's like that simple. And so maybe that's like a loose paradigm that like needs some tweaking, because it lacks a little bit of faith. And there's no such thing as a coincidence in Judaism. And I've experienced it a lot myself lately. Like this year, I've just had so much seemingly divine intervention that's like, it's brought me here. Like, I would not be here if it weren't for like these wild, crazy, like synchronicities, just like stuff lining up, like crazy. Really, in like 1 month, so many things happened that just sent me on a straight path to come to Israel. And it was really special and awesome, and I think it's a message that I need to like keep it up and like not forget my Judaism, because it's a really good way of being. It's such a good blueprint for life, and there are for sure things that I don't totally agree with, and things that I would annex and really like work on, like recycling and food sourcing and certain ideas. But I think that there are people who are working on that. Like, actually, right behind me, the roommate was a Bat Ayin, this place where they make art, they compost, they garden. It's like really super spiritual, and they're all earthy. And I have to go visit there because I've had multiple people tell me that I should go there. And I keep seeing like the name in a lot of different places, and the fact that it sticks out to me, at least, is a sign that like I'm really attracted to it. So, um, so that's like the beginning. The person who actually came and spoke with us about Hashgacha Pratit was a rabbi from Palm Beach, Florida. And I did mention that I was going to talk about this, and now I am. And he had like a really wild, amazing experience about meeting his wife first. I'll start at the beginning and go towards the end. That's usually the good way to do it. So he wasn't meeting anybody, wanted to get married. His mother called the matchmaker, and she said, the mother said, well, the matchmaker made a suggestion, and the mother said, yeah, I really don't think that would be right for him. Like, how about somebody else? Said, do you have any other ideas? And so she was looking out her window. This is in Crown Heights, where like houses are like side by side. You have like a bunch kind of attached to each other, and then you have a little driveway, and like you can see from like your kitchen into somebody else's kitchen, or like, well, not bedrooms, hopefully, because we close blinds, but with the kitchen windows are open. And that's what happened. That she was on the phone. She just so happened to be cooking in the kitchen while she's, or whatever, doing in the kitchen while she's on the phone, and sees a woman across the street, her daughter, walk into her kitchen, and she says, I've got a person for him. And it turns out to like work out perfectly. They got together and like just hit it off and like was perfect. And just what are the chances that she's gonna walk into the kitchen the exact moment that this matchmaker's on the phone with like her Besheret's mother. Besheret means destiny. So there's an idea in Judaism that you have destiny to end up somewhere with someone, or in a certain situation. It's not like fate. It's like what you're what's meant to make you whole in life. Although you still like have to have your individuality. We talked about this a lot, like lately, or like in one talk recently, about maintaining yourself as an individual, but also giving yourself so much to your partner that sometimes there is no distinction between where one person ends and the other begins. And I think that's really beautiful, because just the idea that you can communicate on such a deep level that you don't really have to say much and you understand each other, that's what that's talking about. But still having the autonomy to do things for yourself, make decisions for yourself, go off and whatever. So that's really cool. This is how he met his wife, and they're living in Crown Heights for a long time. He wanted to go into business instead of, I think it was between like, open a Chabad house. I think, yeah, it was between like opening a Chabad house, becoming a shluchim, which is like representatives of Hasidus, or going into business, which is like what a lot of people do. Actually, many people have businesses. They don't just like sit around and read Torah all day. It's actually like a rule that you're either a shlucha, and you represent and you get other Jews to be able to do mitzvot, and you give them the opportunity to learn about their heritage and our practices, or you have a different job first, and it's one of those two things, and then comes Torah. So it's not about just like, all day, every day, reading Torah and study, which is like actually really difficult. Like this program is taking it out of me, like, and everybody, because it's really intense. It's a lot of information, and it's a lot of time to dedicate, and thinking and writing, and reorganizing your own personal paradigms, like I talked about in the last video. So anyhow, they decide to go into business, and they start what they were doing. I can't remember. Let's see. Started. in Crown Heights. Oh, and you know what? He actually ended up. So he was actually like kind of avoiding um, the the opportunity to become shluchim, and so had this uh, opportunity that like came up. Somebody was like, "Oh, can you help uh, with my business?" Somebody just like fell very ill. Or no, first actually maybe he started getting some training like the first day or the second day or something. He was getting training this like on a Wednesday, I think, and then the boss is telling him, "Oh, somebody got sick. You have to go down to Palm Beach, Florida, and run the factory there." And this is like some big medical equipment factory, is what it was. Um, and this guy is like has to go be the manager of a business that he's never been involved in before. So it's like this big, huge change for him. But it's like all taking it with time and whatever. But they really only had like 4 days or something. They ended up leaving on Sunday of that week to go down to Florida. So it was like, okay, like let's do this, whatever. And while they're down there, he gets a call from a man who came from Chicago, and he was like one of the only Jews there, and he had been there I think for a year or two. This other guy from Chicago, and finally, like was getting really sick of not having a shul to go to, and he asked the conservative synagogue nearby. He said, can you guys let us just have minyan, which is 10 men get together. You have to have 10 men. To come together. Actually, it's like the saying basically that for men to pray, they have to have 10 people together. For a woman to pray, she only needs herself, because women are like higher spiritually, and men have to like work at it more. That's why they have to wear kippah. That's why they have to have tzitzit. And like in terms of psychology, like really women have more opportunities for secreting oxytocin, which is like a pleasure hormone, and which like increases association with different psychological and intellectual states, and like so you can like ingrain more information that way, and are obviously people who are more feminine are more emotionally sensitive. It's just kind of common knowledge. It's something that I think most people like acknowledge. And when men are more feminine, that is really holy. That's actually like a really good trait. So and of course the women have to have a little bit of masculinity in them too, but it's all about the balance. And so this is creating that balance that the men pray together because they need the collaboration. It has to do with the 10 spies being sent into Israel before um, they all went together into Israel, including Yehoshua, who became the leader of the Jews after Moses, who had to die before he went into the land, and was like really concerned about who's gonna become the. Oh no, Yehoshua was not Moshe's son. Moshe wanted his son Aaron to be the next leader, and God was like, "Nah, I think Yehoshua's gonna do it because he was one of the good spies." So in any case, so it's about the 10 spies, and that like they were untrustworthy, and that it took all of them together to have even 2 spies who came back with a good report and said, yes, we should go into the land of Israel, and 8 others said, no, we shouldn't. And I mean, they also happened to be the ones who were practicing idolatry. When Moses went up onto the mountain, they all lost faith and were like, oh, let's pray to this golden calf. And that was like totally bad. And the women were like, no, don't do that. And the women also said, no, you don't have to go spy in Israel. We know that we're supposed to go. This is clearly Hashem's will. Like, we left and we've been stranded in Egypt for like, actually, no. They end up stranded in Egypt because the spies go into Eretz Israel before. I'm like just being refreshed on all of this and trying to organize it all in my mind. So, okay, I'm like taking a long time to get through this story, as I always do. But so they, let's see, this family is living in Florida, and so there's no minyan. Finally, they're able to organize a minyan now that the both of them are down there. And there was like a bunch of other really crazy coincidences that happened in the meantime that involved them, like being able to get more people to come there and different things. So, and keep in mind, this is the way that like he got there was through what he was avoiding starting a shul. So, the actual conservative synagogue was like, no, we don't want Orthodox. We don't want an Orthodox minyan in our synagogue. If you want to pray, you can pray with us. But there was a problematic, like halachically, because like they have to. Or because the conservatives don't do quite as many rituals. They miss a lot of stuff. Oh my gosh, Ashkelon keeps getting hit in this industrial zone, and Moasa is always Chof Ashkelon, which I don't know what that is. But gee, that's a lot. It's been like at least 10 missiles today to Ashkelon. But so they are finally allowed, they're finally told by this group that they're allowed to have their minyan prayer in the basement of the conservative shul, because somebody, one of like the elders, came up with the argument that, well, if you had a Christian bunch that had no place to go for, prayer or whatever, would you let them come into your synagogue? And the answer was yes. Like, yeah, they would be allowed. And so why would you let people of another faith come and not those of your own? And since that's, like I've spoken about, an important aspect of Judaism, having precedence for your own people over others, like preserving your family before others. It's kind of a natural instinct, and it's not totally selfish. It's self-preservation is important if you want to survive, like evolutionarily. So that was what the consensus was ultimately based on, that they could have the shul there. So eventually they have more and more people coming, and not so very long after that, they end up with like a really big synagogue. They open their own synagogue and a really big congregation. And so the guy who had come from Chicago, his name was Jeff, and his Hebrew name was Joseph. And Joseph was ultimately the one who started the I'm like losing my words because I'm so tired. I'm sorry. The congregation, and the one who kept it going on was what this guy's name was. I can't remember it now, so I'm like blanking on so much. But it was just like really miraculous, all of this stuff about Torah and the names, and it all lined up, and like it was really weird, but like really amazing, and it ended up being this like huge, beautiful, amazing community there that they have now. Another thing that happened was that he went to, I think it was like an island off of Florida. I can't remember what it was called either, but they also ended up being able to start a Chabad house there, because there was a guy. I don't know if these are different stories I'm mixing up now. I don't know. I can't really remember that one as well, but they really brought a lot to the communities that they lived in, and I thought that was really cool. One other story that he told, all of this like divine providence happening to one person is just like pretty amazing, and that I think that what that really means is that it's somebody who listens to himself, is somebody who just like goes with something and doesn't get so attached to the idea of what they're doing and what they think they're supposed to do, that they are open to other positive things that can come into life, and leaving that space in Taoism, which I talk about sometimes. There's that idea of like, if you don't have space for a new idea, like I was saying in my last video, if you don't have space for a new paradigm, you have to drop one before you can have the other. So leaving a little bit of openness is like really is the I don't even remember what I was saying. So oops. the other story was that, long story short, um, this rabbi met a kid who he called him to come to like his house or his hotel, well, the guy's house, which was somewhere else, or to come to the hotel where the rabbi was staying. And the guy said, no, no, I'll just come to the hotel. Like, my wife's at home, and I'll just come to you. And he's thinking, like, oh, what do these like religious rabbis want? They probably want a donation. I'll come, just give them the check, and I'll go, whatever. And so, he sits down and they start talking, and they're talking about like I think his like take on Judaism, and whatever different things, and they keep talking, and the conversation goes on, and it's not ending, and this guy is like, well, are they gonna like want my donation or what? Like, are they gonna ask me for money? Like, I don't know. And so eventually realizes that that's not what this is about at all. It's really just about like bringing Jews together, maybe to network or whatever. And towards the end, he says, okay, well, I really need to get home to my wife. She thought I was only leaving for a little while, and it's been a long time, so I'm gonna get home. And the rabbi says, oh, well, could you do one thing for us before you go? And or would you do one thing before you go? And he's like, oh, okay, now they're gonna ask for the donation now, like they're gonna ask for the money. And he says, yeah, sure. And he's like ready to pull out his checkbook, and the rabbi says, would you like to do a mitzvah? And the guy was like, maybe, and the rabbi's like, well, here we have tefillin, which is like you wrap leather, like there's like a lot of different like not rules, but also like mystical ideas about like how you do it and why you do it, and like the spiritual aspects of it. But they're like these plastic boxes that have prayers in them, and it's basically like putting a prayer on yourself and then saying the prayer, and it's like you really internalize it. And so by having one like on your head and one on your wrist, or your arm, you're able to like really connect with it. So he says, well, would you wrap some tefillin, which is what it's called, because tefillah is prayer, wrap some prayers. And he says, no, I'm not sure, I really have to get home, it's going to take a while. And he says, no, like, it doesn't have to take long at all. Oh, these bugs, it's like so gross. I've never experienced this many bugs in Israel. I just want to like hang up my hammock with my bug net and hang out in it all day. But whatever. So he says, okay, finally, he's like, yeah, sure, whatever. I'll wrap the tefillin. So he takes it, and they're putting it on, and he just like feels something so powerful, and he just like really connects with it, and he's like, actually, would it be possible for me to get a pair of these? And the rabbi says, yeah, I would give you these ones if they weren't the last pair we had on us, because we need to still be able to, let other people use them while we're traveling. But when we get back to Crown Heights, we'll send you a pair. And eventually, so they do get back to Crown Heights, and they send him the pair, and he uses it every day, and he like slowly starts picking up other things, doing different prayer more, and then I think he like ended up becoming a little more religious. I'm not sure if he became Baal Teshuvah or Chabad or anything like that, but I think he eventually moved to a part of town in New York. Maybe he was the one who started the Chabad house. I don't know what it was, but like 23 years later, they finally met up again, and they're talking, and he realizes he never gave him the check. So he like runs into his room, goes and gets something, and comes out, and he's like, here's a check for the tefillin that I bought from you. And I think he gave him money for maybe something else, also a donation. And it just like the whole thing came full circle, and it's just like really miraculous and amazing, like the way this stuff works out sometimes, and how it can really affect someone. And because I like left out the biggest part of the story. I think the biggest connection was that his grandfather used to wrap tefillin, and he never knew what it was. He was like, yeah, I always wondered. This is what he said. He said, my either his uncle or his grandfather used to always, like, when he would pray, he would like wear this box with something he would tie to himself, and I always wondered what that is. It was the rabbi asked if he had any questions. He didn't even ask if he, the first time in the hotel, if he wanted to do mitzvah. He asked if he had any questions, and the guy said, yeah, actually, after saying, no, I don't have question, he said, actually, I thought of something, it's this box, and that he used to wrap, and the rabbi said, well, do you want to try it? And he said, yeah, sure, so he did it, and that was how the whole thing happened, that, sometimes it takes a little bit of persistence. And the number 3 is really important in, like, Judaism, of, like, asking forgiveness, persisting in asking somebody to do something for you or to do something for themselves. And I'm pretty sure in conversion, if you want to convert, you have to ask 3 times. You have to really, really want it, and you have to keep going to the rabbi. The first 2 times you go, he's going to tell you no. They're going to tell you no, we won't convert you. You have to keep coming back, because Judaism isn't like, there aren't missionaries going out and, like, trying to make people Jewish. There are some people who will go out and do some work that'll try to teach people about, like, other sects of Judaism, like, here, wrap tefillin, here, do a mitzvah, here, let's pray together, because these things are putting out good energy into the world and just make you feel better, and they want to give that to other Jews, but they're not trying to make anybody Jewish. And so it's three times you have to ask. And so he had asked on the 3rd time, he said, yeah, I'll wrap the tefillin, and it changed his life. So that was really powerful and awesome. I think everything is really powerful around here. It's really cool. So, hope you've all enjoyed.